The WWE right now is on fire, and it is great to see. As life doesn't always give you peaches and cream though, there are some WWE superstars who have struggled a little bit in 2024. So given that we are now in 2025, I thought we could be a bunch of nerds and we could go through these individuals and sort of fantasy book what we could do in order to get them back to the top. Sound good? Great, let's go. Number 10, Pete Dunne. So you gotta give credit where credit is due. Pete Dunne has done pretty damn good with all of this Butch stuff. The man seems genuinely annoyed that R-Truth keeps calling him this, to the point he keeps beating up R-Truth. And does R-Truth learn? No, he doesn't. But that's because deep down he actually thinks that Pete Dunne and Butch are two different people. So I am truly enjoying this, but if you do go back to his days in NXT and NXT UK, Pete Dunne was basically pitched as the man, especially in NXT UK. He was the champion for like 74 years. He took that personality across when he did get moved to NXT USA as well. And again, you can just go through most of his rundown there. And he was, as he would say, and Sheamus, having banger after banger after banger. When he did get called up to the main roster, of course, Vince McMahon looked at him and was like, well, you're a relatively small guy in comparison, so we have to give you a damn name. And he called him Butch. But once again, Pete didn't go, oh man, I've got to do this. He embraced it, made it work. The reason it's quite weird today though is that of course we have left Butch behind and he has gone back from Pete Dunne, but we are still in this middle ground where he's obviously trying to get rid of the nickname, but even after a long old time, well, he hasn't got rid of it. So it just feels like in 2025, Pete Dunne needs to get his edge back, not Adam Copeland, and that would be totally moving away from this and going back to just having stellar matches. If you are worried about his talking skills as well, you could pair him with someone like William Regal, although I can't see that. Although here's another idea. The tag team scene needs more bodies. When Ilya Dragunov is back, why don't you put those two together? This could be like a Fraxium situation. They would be amazing. I do want to make it clear that Dunne is not in a bad spot at all, and to use wrestling vernacular, he totally understands sports entertainment. But we do start looking to the future. Could we do more? You bet your ass. Number 9, The Miz. So I really enjoyed The Miz being kidnapped by the Final Testament and then essentially being bullied. It was just rather fun and everybody played their roles well. This can't go on forever though, and it's fair to say The Miz kind of plays the same character all of the time. Not that you can get mad at that either, because he's an all-time legend and look at his career. People would kill to follow in his footsteps. It also means you can have more fun with all of this because he does have this tenure. So once again, moving forward in 2025, why don't we get rid of the goofy stuff and actually present The Miz as a serious badass contender? I don't think there's any reason why you can't get away with that. You can even do this with people you are calling up from NXT as The Miz gets all in their face like, man, you're never going to amount to anything. Or maybe you could move The Miz off Raw and SmackDown and put him on NXT in a while because I tell you, he has such star power, he would feel like a massive deal. I just think because he does have all of this experience, you want to put that on the table because you can't buy experience. It only comes when you put the time in. Nobody has put more time in than The Miz. I just don't want to waste it, you know, and The Miz probably is coming to the end of his career eventually. And people say really negative stuff about him, but I actually think that comes down to more how he is being portrayed. So let's take a risk and go with it. Number 8, the Wyatt Sicks. Now, I'm not sure we ever need to worry about the Wyatts because they are presented so well and they get such massive crowd reactions. That's the whole point of wrestling. I think the main issue in 2025 is if you are like me, you just want more, because we're only getting them in drips and drabs. Now, of course, less is more, especially when it comes to the spooky wookie, but sometimes less is also less. I kind of feel like we're moving in that direction. I just think that we can dedicate more time to each and every single character that we do have here, and given that a lot of their feuds are week to week and then they vanish for a while, well, we just don't have the time to do it. Take somebody like Dexter Lumis, for example, or Joe Gacy. We know that he is Mercy the Buzzard or Puskus the Pig Boy, whatever their names are, but we do not know why. And listen, a few months ago, we were getting down and dirty into this as we were told why people wanted to be a part of the Wyatts. I just think that's something we could address again. It also allows them to become more relatable and then people will buy into them even more. And it's the potential, man, I tell you. There is so much potential there, but it is still early days. But I would like to pull the trigger soon. Number 7, the Final Testament. And it is the exact same with these guys, because good grief is there more that we can do. Karrion Kross and Scarlett especially are so good together. And did you see those social media skits they did after they had kidnapped The Miz? They were laugh out loud funny. The AOP are also great muscle, but they too, like the Wyatts, just kind of jump from feud to feud and they don't go anywhere. I mean, at WrestleMania in 2024, they were taking on the Pride, or Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. Bobby Lashley ain't even with the company anymore. So I just don't think it was very well thought out. And also, don't forget, Cross has corrupted so many babyfaces as soon as they have crossed paths with each other. And that's just good shit, man. So he doesn't have to go back to talking to these individuals, but we, as a storytelling company, should be talking about it more on screen. I also think it would be super wise to throw the Authors of Pain into the tag team division properly, because if all of a sudden they did become the champions, well, it just makes them more legit. Now, look, we do have to say, thankfully, Karrion is way better today than when he had to wear that stupid helmet, but we ain't trying to settle here, and I think there is way more under the hood when it comes to Cross, and I would love to explore it. Number 6, Giovanni Vinci. I mean, I really don't know what to suggest. Because even I, Mr. Positive Pete, was very concerned when he did make his big return after months of vignettes, and lost to Apollo Crews once in what essentially was a squash match. Then it happened again. I mean, he didn't really get squashed, but he lost in like a minute, and that was the total time over both matches. Now, he has also vanished ever since, so maybe he fell into the Phantom Zone. However, there is a positive here. Raw is now 3 hours, SmackDown is now 3 hours, and if we are about to give talent new opportunities, well, maybe it's time to call Vinci. Now, the good news is you can salvage anything, and do you know what WWE loves right now? Groups. Look at someone like the Judgment Day. They became such a good faction that every single one of them went on to single success. There's also the flipping bloodline that have main evented the show for the last 74 years, but you can have a more fun side to this as well, so I would take Giovanni and I would put him with Pretty Deadly. I mean, those guys are underrated anyway, and they're so over the top, so why not take the Giovanni Vinci character and just say to him too, why don't you do the same? I mean, when you do go back and watch those videos, there is a certain funniness to them. You could also make them 3 mad Europeans that are absolute goofballs outside the ring, but inside the ring, let them be absolutely assholes that cheat all the time, and that's when we can take them seriously. I just think this would be so damn entertaining, and also, I'm still waiting for that Pretty Deadly musical, so maybe Giovanni Vinci can be the rich backer they do need. Once again, go to the videos. I'm 99% sure he was meant to be rich. Now, yes, some people will roll their eyes at this, but look at our truth. He is always a delight on whatever television program. Why can't we just try and repeat that success? Number 5, Gallus. So this is more about time. Gallus have been in the NXT system for so long, there isn't really much else for them to do there, which probably means it is time to put them on the main roster. I mean, they are absolutely solid hands because WWE chose them to help The Rock when he was making his big comeback for WrestleMania 40, and you don't just pick anybody to do that. So yeah, this one is nice and simple. I think we need to put them on Raw and SmackDown and just see what happens. Now, there is always a role for them down in NXT in the sense they'd always be good at helping out new recruits, but you'd have to imagine that Gallus would also like their opportunity in the quote-unquote big leagues. If nothing else, I'd want to see it. Now, this is a little bit on the nose, but I suppose if you do have a big world title plan for Drew McIntyre in 2025, and you want to have a team around him protecting him as well, well, Gallus would tie into that. They're all from the same place. Kinda. I also think they would benefit massively from Drew's star power, and if it allows McIntyre to have an elongated world title run, well, you ain't getting any complaints from this bald a-hole. Number 4, Andrade. One thing Andrade does do every time is have damn good matches. Doesn't even matter what kind of reaction he gets when he makes his entrance. By the end of his fight, everyone is like, hot damn, he's good. The problem is that after that, it doesn't really go anywhere. Even his best of 7 series with Carmelo Hayes. I mean, you look back now, and what was the end result? We had some entertaining fights. That was about it. Now, he did win the Speed title, but if you were unaware of that, I wouldn't blame you. So once again, let's keep this one nice and simple. Turn him heel. Now, I don't want to go too stereotypical here, which means I am going to, but just hear me out for 1 second. Given that Pentagon has also just joined the WWE, and you don't want either of these 2 guys to get lost in the shuffle, put them together, but not as a tag team. They just have each other's backs, and damn it, push them to the moon, and one of them absolutely in 2025 should become a champion. I don't care if it's Intercontinental, I don't care if it's US, just pick one. It really does come down to the fact that once again, Triple H is super duper into his stables, so whatever we have to do to make sure that him and anybody else has all the power in the world. Also, when Phoenix is allowed to come to WWE, which could be a good while, he could be thrown into this too, and that would just freshen him up. If nothing else, Andrade does have that mask too. So if you want to lean into that and basically turn him into wrestling's Batman, well, as a huge Dark Knight fan, I would never get mad at that. Number 3, Omos. Amazingly, I think WWE has just figured this one out. Very excited. Because if you are a wider fan of the wrestling world, you know that Omos just debuted in Noah. On his first night in, he became one half of the tag team champions. Oodalali. Now just go and look at social media to see how the Japanese wrestling fans reacted to this guy. Because he is so big, they were like, man, we don't care what you're going to do in the ring. We just appreciate your size. That's the first step to becoming a major success in wrestling. All Omos needs as well is the experience to where he can play an amazing giant, then he can come back to WWE, and yeah, he can just be like a throwback to the wrestlers of old. What the flub is wrong with that? I mean, don't pretend you wouldn't secretly love Cody Rhodes having to come up against this man. And no, Omos wouldn't beat him, but it just proposes a new challenger for Cody, and because wrestling never dies, we want to keep things fresh. That's Exhibit A. If it did go super well out east too, and you really wanted to do a nod to the past, you could even give Omos a mini run as the WWE champion, and then pick somebody you want to push and go, hey ho you're about to beat the big guy. I think people would love that too, because it would be fun. Again, it doesn't need to outstay its welcome, but that's the secret word in wrestling. As long as things are F-U-N, everything is fine. Number 2, the Alpha Academy. So we did eventually get to Otis versus Chad Gable, and it was a super entertaining match. It was a little bit late, all things considered. But then Otis lost, and now I don't really know what we do with him. I mean, it's mostly how the whole group have been pegged recently, and that's why we need to shuffle them around. So if Maxine Dupree does keep improving, she should be thrown right into the women's division. When it comes to Tozawa, well, that poor man just needs some wins, because he is the proverbial loser. As we saw in 2024 as well, Otis can be a massive babyface. So in 2025, let's get back to that and get him so much buzz that if you do want to give him a mid-card championship, you totally can. Now, I'm sure there's a shout out that you can break them up and put them elsewhere, but I actually think they are way better together than doing their own singles thing. And again, you just need to sell them in a different way. That's absolutely what we should do. I mean, they certainly haven't worn out their welcome, so given, once again, we are about to get 3-hour Raws and 3-hour SmackDowns, let's keep our fingers crossed. Number 1, Natalya. Natalya is one of the best women's wrestlers that WWE has ever had. She's been there for like 15 years. You can't do that by fluke. Because she has been there so long, though, she has kind of become a gatekeeper for the division. And honestly, go and listen to how her peers talk about her. She is so helpful, no matter where you are on the card. But yeah, because she is playing that role, she does lose an awful lot. There was a time where I really hoped she would become the first ever WWE Women's Intercontinental Champion, because I just felt like she deserved it. But that's okay, because we can revisit this in 2025 by building her up and maybe just giving her a little bit of a run. I don't want to sound like a cliched wrestling fan, but she deserves it. I really do think she could get some serious crowd support behind her as well, and you know what the story could be. Owen Hart had a great IC title run. Bret Hart had a great IC title run. So now I want to carry that on. I'm just going to double down on it. She only needs to hold it for a month or so. It would make you feel warm and fuzzy in your tum-tum. And then if she does want to go and do something else, she can, because she got her moment. If nothing else, she is quite clearly a legend, but one of my favorite things in modern wrestling is that people that have achieved this status are allowed just a little bit of a send-off. Not trying to retire her, but in terms of giving her something as a full-time wrestler, well, this is exactly what I would do. Now, of course, you're going to have plenty of opinions about this, so please do drop me a comment below with your own fantasy booking ideas. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the video on the screen for more WWE information courtesy of this bored a-hole. Otherwise, my friends, you have a terrific day. I'll see you soon.